Good evening. This is the Walpole Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight is Wednesday, June 4th. It is 7:22 right now. We were delayed because we were in executive session first. Okay, the next case we have is going to be a continuance, case number 25-2 for 0 Sunset Drive. The applicant has requested a continuance for this case. Does anybody, Patrick, is that correct? We good?
Yeah, I had a conversation with their attorney, and I think they're still going over the comments from last meeting and are probably going to revise the plan further, so they're looking to continue and extend.
Okay. What's the continuation date for that?
The 21st, and extension through the 21st.
July.
July 21st.
July 21st.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Should have said.
So that's for a continuation of until July 21st, 7 PM here at Town Hall. Does somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Dave. Any further
Do
discussion?
we need an extension?
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, so he granted an extension through the 21st as well within his email. So continuing to the 21st and extending through the 21st.
Through or beyond?
That's what,
He's asking for the same date.
yeah.
So we'll give it an extension of time until July 30th.
Yeah, I can confirm with him. I'm actually meeting with him tomorrow, so I can confirm that. And see if he has to resend it, then we can just clock it in as part of it.
Yeah, we should give him a
Yeah.
buffer.
Yeah.
All right, so I move that to the 21st.
Okay. Any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, next case we have is for case number 25-3, 1 Foxhill Drive. I believe the applicant is here. You want to update us to, and we did receive a letter from the deputy chief about the roadway, and he still has concerns about that. Do you want to talk to us? What's your plan? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so
Would you just introduce yourself for the record?
I'm Chris from 1 Foxhill Drive. So
Do you like share, no last name, or just?
Irvine.
Okay, thank you.
So I sent an email over to Alan. I sent him a photo, explained to him what was going on, my concerns about the parking lot getting bottlenecked in the event that there was an emergency. And he stood by their original letter, and they would like it to be paved and everything to remain the same. So I spoke to our engineer, John Glossa, and he said, you know, the best course of action would be to ask for a variation on it and have the driveway paved to where the fire department wants it, but also to pave up to the white fence and then add a water recharging system so that obviously we're past the 15%, it was existing non-conforming, but by right on the highway business, we can pave up to 90%. So to try and better the site and better the water, if we were to add those systems and then pave more, it would be beneficial.
Okay.
And then
So-
that would kind of solve the fire department's issue and then the parking issue that we're having.
Okay. And you're going to have a set of engineered plans for that, and that's going to take some more time, right?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to continue, or Patrick?
Yeah, no, so
you've had a
it's two things, right? So it's changing the plan of record for what was, I guess initially it was for, the plan of record was for the use. So that would need to still be changed, but it also requires a second special permit for the increase of the impervious surface. So, and I know we talked about that today, so what Chris would need to do is he would need to apply for a second special permit for that increase. Timing-wise, pretty good in terms of the board's next meeting is being July 21st. So it could, in theory, you could continue this case and as well as advertise for that second special permit for the 21st. Obviously, that's up to if the applicant can get an application for that in the time.
So we've also run into situations where it's better if everything's in one case, not two cases. So one of the things that we could do, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, is have him withdraw without prejudice this case, and then just do one
reapply.
clean application where he's got the two of them. That would be better, particularly if you're re-advertising anyways. Is there any
I
disadvantage?
agree with that. My only thing is, I'm not sure if does this have any issue with your conversations with the building commissioner in terms of whatever?
I don't believe so, but I didn't ask. I mean, currently we have a temporary occupancy permit, and it was based on this case.
Mhm.
I mean, I could ask him if it's okay to maybe reissue that under the new case when it's assigned.
Yeah, now I see
See that,
why.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That,
So
yeah,
that-
you don't want to.
It's already got an attachment to it.
So that's
the first
already, that
case.
complicates it. So,
Okay.
so I think what we need to do is we need to have it as two separate cases, but that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that's
Well,
just,
Because
they
the-
open at the same, they run together, they open at the same time. You don't open one and then talk about it and open the other one.
No, we'd run them at the same time, but the other thing is when there's a decision, it's actually two different decisions
Right. Yes.
that he has to have in file and comply with two different decisions, where it's a lot easier to comply with one decision.
yeah.
So, but I think that's what, I didn't realize there was, so this has to do with violations with the building
Because the
inspector?
plan's technically not built to what was the plan of record, so
And
that's why I'd be hesitant to withdraw it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
because it's already prejudiced with the attachment, okay.
true. So, do you want to continue until the 21st
Yeah, if I
of
could.
July? And at that point,
Probably need an extension through the 30th.
an extension, and do you want to give an extension of time until the 30th of July?
What does that mean?
That just means we don't have to, if we close it if it doesn't close that night, then we can extend it further. But otherwise, we're going to run into a situation, we might run into a situation where we run out of time, because the zoning board only has 90 days to make a decision on these.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, so you're gonna have to have engineering plans drawn up and show how this is all gonna be done. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to, first off, does anybody have any questions on this? No. Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to continue case number 25-3 for 1 Foxhill Drive until July 21st with an extension of time until July 30th?
So moved.
Moved by Judy, second by Dave.
I do have one question. With the expansion of the pavement, does that change the number of vehicles that will be allowed on the premises? As far as parking?
That would come up to the building commissioner's
Okay.
interpretation, but I
Yeah,
understand what
all
you're
right.
saying,
I
yeah.
know if it was us again, okay.
Sorry, who seconded that motion, by the way?
I
second it, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Any further discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay, good. Then we will see you on July 21st, and you'll be working with Patrick on getting these plans in. Okay,
I'll see you tomorrow.
great.
All right,
Thank
see
you.
ya.
Thanks. Okay, other board business. So, as we know, we have a modification plan for the Gilmore site. I think it's now called, is it the Sanctuary? Sanctuary, what's it called?
East. Sanctuary on East.
So, so the applicant is looking for a determination whether it is a major or minor, I'm sorry, a substantial or non-substantial modification. So, Patrick, where do we stand? You've had some conversations
So-
with the applicant.
Yeah, after the last meeting with the board, I had a few questions. I brought that, or I sent them in an email to the applicant. Applicant had a response from me, and I know Alan, the fire chief, deputy fire chief, provided comments as well, just
And that
because.
had to do with the
Had to do with the-
outside,
Yeah, just
Fireplace.
because,
With the fire pit, too.
yeah, fire pit, it would have to have a, an emergency shut off and a bunch of other specs that they need prior to review. But essentially, they were going to be here tonight to explain their reasoning. The email that I have from you comes from today. There was some communication between the town administrator and the applicant, because along with this, and this is a little bit out of my understanding, which is this project also has the MOA attached to it, which was done with the select board. And so there's certain elements in that MOA that would need to be updated along with this modification, being the increase in the units and the breakdown in the bedroom count. there was, more or less, there was some concern about that, and so that was conveyed to the applicant, and the applicant submitted an extension of an additional 20 days so that they could have that conversation that they need to have with the town administrator and the select board regarding their concerns.
What's an MOA?
Memorandum of agreement.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
it's actually interesting you bring this up because we went through the whole hearing process, and I knew we all knew there was this memorandum of
Yeah.
agreement, but that really didn't come into play with anything that we were looking at, anything. I think the applicant would bring it up every now and then, but
Yeah.
that really didn't come into play. Now it does come in because any changes to our decision,
So that's the thing with it, is your purview in this is you're just looking at what he's requesting, whether or not that's a substantial enough change to require a public hearing, or is it insubstantial? And in the sense of, you can say, okay, those changes are allowed, and you could, just like Moose Hill, you could condition an insubstantial change. You can add that as part of their addendum, like, I think there was concerns with like Moose Hill in terms of like whether or not the dens would become like a third bedroom or something, so we had a condition in there. For this, in a hypothetical situation, if the board said, hey, it's an insubstantial change, and even if you conditioned it and sent it forward, they would still not be in compliance with their MOA. So it's almost like a two-step agreement. Even if the zoning board approves the changes, if a part of those changes conflicts with the MOA, they still need to update the MOA, and if the MOA is not agreed to by the select board, they would still need to come back. They would need to come back essentially and remodify again. So that's why he's looking to extend it, because if the outcome of his conversation with them is, going to change, let's just say the number of units, or the number of units is actually going to remain the same, then his modification request changes.
Right.
So rather than seeking approval on a modification request that you got me.
So
Yeah.
just for the sake of this conversation, what are the changes? Just to
Yeah.
clarify it.
Two more
put it on the
units.
record.
3 more units.
3 more units.
Three more
Some
units.
additional parking, but the big, I think the number of studio apartments,
Studios goes from 16 to 6, one bedrooms goes from 86 to 96, 2 bedrooms go from 25 to 26, 25 to 27, and 3 bedrooms go from 16 to 17, I think. But there's also, in terms of, there's architectural changes. That was kind of the bulk of it. They removed the indoor pool, and so they have all this additional amenity space. Yeah.
and we didn't have,
Chuckling about the
No,
pool.
I just wanted, for the sake of the conversation, I
Yep.
just wanted it to be said,
Yep.
what we were actually talking about, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also, I'm sorry, there was
Well-
also this change of they had a sign package.
Right.
And with that sign package was 2 requested waivers. That was also something that I did bring up with them in the email, and I think you saw my
I saw it.
response. It was,
they can
they could change
they
it.
can comply.
They should comply.
Right.
Yes.
So that's, because otherwise we'd have to open up the whole way, go through the waiver process and all that, right? So I don't think, we can do it if they want, but if we do that, then we're gonna have to look at, as,
Everything.
as, it's probably gonna be more time. I think if they comply with that, that's great, and the other ones, let's wait and back from the select board and find out what they have to say. The only thing I have a concern about is we have 20 days.
Yeah, so I had called the applicant. I couldn't get a hold of him, just in terms of, hey, well, the board's next meeting is the 21st.
Meaning the select board, sorry.
The zoning board's next meeting is the 21st. He follows up on his email. I'll circle back once I have additional information, and we can work on finding a future ZBA meeting date. I took that to mean, here's the 20 days, and then let me figure out what's going on, and then if I get another letter from him about him extending to the 21st.
So what happens? if-
Right now, though, I would say it makes sense for the board from just like a precaution to have a date within the next 20 days set up for this discussion.
Do they have to meet with the zoning board for us on the MOA? Before
what?
they come to us on this project? The
It's-
reason I
it's-
asked when
yeah.
the next meeting was, because I thought what you were saying was that was the next select board meeting?
No, yeah.
So do they have to come to us first, or select board first? Or maybe not first. I know they have to go to both.
They really got to go to both. I would, I don't know, chicken
Well,
or
it's-
it's chicken or the egg, right? I think it would make sense probably go to the zoning board first
Yep.
and then go to the select
Okay.
board, but that's just, again, it doesn't,
Monday, the
Well, the only
23rd.
reason I was asking as it relates to the extension of time and like
Yeah.
whether or not, whatever decision is
This
that we
month,
make based
because
on
we only have 20 days.
project, which
No.
I just,
Okay. So Patrick, we'd be
Buy
looking
some time, Patrick.
yeah.
20 days, but 20 days out puts us to,
Is it 24th?
well, the 24th would be 20 days. 23rd is a Monday, right?
23rd.
So 23rd is a Monday. I really don't want to meet on that, and hopefully they're going to, get
Yeah.
this. Well, we don't know. If we have to meet then, we could, but that'd be the only thing that we're meeting for.
That would be frustrating.
Yeah, and that's the problem with 40B, right? And that's.
Yeah,
those-
40B has different rules, and one of them is 20 days. That's the magic number.
Certainly
So,
would help his case for insubstantial change.
I mean,
Just come in on an off day.
you know, I obviously can't speak for the applicant, but last time they reached out, they seemed pretty, amendable to be like, hey, can you give us an extension? That was not a problem last time, I would hope.
It started their
Same thing.
borings.
so I
Yeah.
have one more question, John, and I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
fine.
know I'm on fire tonight, so.
Yeah, what's
what
with
we're-
you?
What we're deciding is.
Still feeling it from last night.
I'm still feeling it from last night. So what we're deciding on whenever we meet is whether or not this is substantial or not substantial as it relates to,
Needing a public hearing.
Another.
that's it?
That's it, so right now you're.
No, hold on, back up, time out, sorry. Substantial or not substantial change, and I'm sorry to do this to you,
no.
has nothing to do with a public hearing. The project has changed
Correct.
in some form or fashion. We're deciding, is this a substantial change in this project or a not substantial
Correct.
change?
When you-
Which is why I asked, what are the changes? You said, and I'm not putting us on you. Like, we're taking a pool away, we're adding 2 units, we're changing the configurations of 1, 2 bedrooms, studios, et cetera, maybe adding 3 units, and some architecture.
There's a bunch of minor changes.
Yeah.
Relatively.
All right, that was, my only point in asking that wasn't to, I just, yeah, okay. So that, whenever we meet, that's what we're talking about?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they've also agreed to comply with the issue of signage is off the table, right?
I mean, it was a quick email conversation. I expected him to be here tonight to kind of explain it, but obviously I would need them to have that discussion with
When you
you.
say signage, what do you mean by that?
They wanted, like, their banner signs was gonna be 6 inches larger or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, so, no, there's very
Internally
strict
illuminated
rules in
signage.
in Walpole that everyone is held accountable to, i.e. jalapenos and everyone. I'm just saying. like-
No, that honestly, that crossed my mind.
Yeah,
I couldn't
like-
imagine.
So that's that. And I'm glad you brought that up because that is a thing that we have to consider, but I just wanted to know, like, which is why I asked earlier, like, what were the actual changes in the project that we're considering substantial?
Yeah, I mean, it was in his letter that
Yeah.
they provided. So, I mean, there was a bunch of.
And you probably sent it to me, and I apologize if I didn't read it, and I will.
Unfortunately, they're not here to explain, so we really need to continue this 20 days out to protect us, and then if they want to give an extension,
So, yeah, so if they want to
To
give
July
an
30th.
extension, this isn't a public hearing, right? This is just a board discussion business. So you're tentatively agreeing to have this discussion again on the 23rd. You can schedule a meeting, and I think part of our rules and regulations, we can have special,
Yeah.
meetings like that. If they agree to extend, it's not like we need to come here and have a vote to continue. There's no public hearing, so I would
because
just
it's
let
a
you
board
know.
discussion.
Hey, they're going to move to July.
Okay, so we don't even need to vote on that. What we're going to do is because it's not a public hearing, so
Yep.
we're going to just continue that until.
Under board business, yeah.
Under board business until the 23rd, and we'll see how that goes.
Can everyone make the 23rd? I don't have my agenda with
Yeah, I
me.
have no idea.
June or July?
June. Okay,
I don't know.
I know.
I'm not
So,
Be okay, Mondays are usually okay.
Big, full dance card.
Yep.
All right.
okay,
Yes, I can make the 23rd. Not that you guys want me here, but I can make it.
Oh, I have to go.
Like I said, as soon as I can communicate with him and, hopefully we can just have it go on the board.
okay. So, anybody have anything else? The next thing we have is a discussion and vote on the final endorsement of the board rules and regulations. We had gone over this at the last meeting. Judy had a number of comments.
Yeah,
Do we get a new pack?
I don't think it got sent out.
No.
If we want,
I
you
haven't
could,
seen it.
if you want, you probably could just move it to the July.
Just say it. Pat.
Just put it
Just
out
say
until July 21st.
Sustainable in the mouth.
No, my changes might have been a little confusing.
Yeah, it should have been, it didn't get sent out, so we probably have not done it.
All right,
Read it.
pass that along.
You ready to vote?
Okay. Then the last thing we have before we would adjourn is the minutes from May 19th. If somebody wants to make a motion on those minutes,
I would make a motion to approve if I was there.
you cannot, right?
Then you cannot make that motion.
I was teasing.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Made by Mark, second by Judy. Any further discussion on the minutes?
Nope, look good.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so carried. Okay. Good.
Beautiful.
So, 2 continuances and not a lot tonight, but, okay. Anybody have anything else for the board? Then that's it. Does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Judy,
Second.
second by Mark again. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.